All right, and maybe I will just upload my very brief PowerPoint. Share screen. Yeah, and I'll put it in presentation mode. There we go. I know it's not. Is it the good one that you're seeing, the full thing? Yeah, I think so, right? Yeah, okay.
Looks
The
good.
full thing.
The full screen instead of the two with the notes. It's Friday, almost evening. Bear with me.
Get another cup of coffee. It looks great.
All right, I guess I'm going to start. So there's people that also need to leave early, and there's people in different time zones. So some people are ready to go to sleep. So thank you very much, first of all, for being here. We're going to be talking today about the best practices in citizen science for environmental plastic observations. So I guess you're all interested in marine litter or environmental litter somehow, and in citizen science. And I would like to start by introducing the hosts. I'll start with me. So I'm Ana Catarino. I'm a researcher at the Flanders Marine Institute in Belgium. And I've been working on plastic, the topic of plastic pollution for a few years now. I'm very interested in observations and effects, and some of the projects where I'm working are citizen science. One of them is Collect, and the other one is Plastic Pirates, one in Europe, one in West Africa and Malaysia. So I will also introduce Adam. I don't know if Adam is already here. No, Adam is not here. Adam is somewhere in Hawaii in a cruise. So Adam is working at the Department of Marine and Fishery Sciences in the University of Ghana. And together with me, she's a co-PI in the project Collect. And she's very interested also in citizen science and plastic observations. Sophie?
Hi everyone, thanks Hannah. I'm Sophie Siave. I'm the CEO of the Partnership for Observation of the Global Ocean, POGO, based at Plymouth Marine Laboratory in the UK. And POGO's involvement in marine plastics is mainly through the Collect project that Hannah mentioned, for which we received a grant from the Lounsbury Foundation, and which is co-led by Anna and Eden.
And Lika?
Hello, everybody. I'm Lilian Krug. I'm scientific coordinator of POGO, and together with Sophie and our colleagues at the Secretariat, we provide all the support that Anna and Eden and all the partners involved are doing for this great project.
Thank you. And now I will also start to introduce the panel. Just bear with me because I have too many windows open. I think you can see everyone now. And I will just look for my notes because we are going to introduce you just for the sake of time. I am not sure if everyone was able to be here today or present today, but I know for sure that there's one person already not here, but we're still gonna try to introduce her.
Anna, it looks like
Yep.
Idem and Rachel have managed to join. I don't know.
Oh, great. Hi, Adam. Oh, you're both in the same place. Hi, hello. Great to have you here. I've just introduced Adam, and Rachel will introduce you in a few seconds. So thanks for joining, and we'll be right back to you. Okay. Okay. Great. So Alexander, are you here? Not sure, but okay. Alexander, if he will be able to join at some point, is a professor at the Oceanographic Institute of the University of São Paulo in Brazil, and is also coordinator of the UNESCO Chair on Ocean Sustainability, and is one of the main experts of plastic pollution in Brazil. Sophie, would you like to introduce Annette?
Sorry, I
I can do it. I can do it.
Okay, go ahead, Lika.
So Annette Jayaram is a lecturer at the Center for Marine and Coastal Studies at SEMAX at the University of Science Malaysia. She's mainly working on crustacean aquaculture research and has been involved in some community engagement and citizen science programs, including the Pogo Project Collect.
Thanks. I will introduce Filipa. Filipa Bessa is a researcher at the MAR in Coimbra University in Portugal, and her work focuses on plastic litter, and she's leading citizen science projects such as the platform Lixo Marinho, which is marine litter in Portuguese. Kaylee is not here, but Lika, if you'd like to just introduce her.
Okay, Kaylee Wiles is an associate professor in psychology at the University of Plymouth in the UK, working on environmental psychology. Her research focuses on how people engage with the natural world and the impacts these have on both the individuals and on the environment.
Cheers. Then I'll introduce Martin. You can smile, Martin. He's a professor of marine biology at Universidad Católica del Norte in Chile, and he leads one of the pioneer citizen projects in marine litter, Científicos de la Basura.
Great, and we also have Rachel Z. Miller, who is with Eden, yes, on board a vessel. She is the founder and CEO of Coraball Microfiber Catcher and founder of the Rosalia Project for a Clean Ocean, a nonprofit working on the problem of marine debris. She's a National Geographic Explorer and an Explorers Club Fellow.
Thank you. And then it's Tim. Tim is a researcher assistant at the Kiel Science Factory in Germany and is one of the leaders of the Citizen Science Horizon Europe project, Plastic Pirates Go Europe, which directly contributes to the mission on healthy ocean, seas, coastal and inland water.
Last but not least, Matteo Vinci is working at the Istituto Nazionale di Oceanografia e Geofisica Sperimentale in Italy. He is currently involved in the EMODNet chemistry, in particular on marine litter data management, beach litter, seafloor litter, and micro litter.
Great. I'll just stop sharing so we can all see each other. So the format today is we're going to have a discussion. So there's no presentations, and we have a few questions that we prepared for our panelists and experts, but also it's quite flexible. So if anyone on the public would like to ask questions, feel free. And we will take it up and also add your contribution to the discussion. I will just leave my PowerPoint and open my questions because we also don't know them by heart. It's quite a few, but I would like to invite Tim, if you would like to start and to explain us a little bit what is this of environmental and plastic litter. What are the goals of the observations and monitoring, and why are we doing litter observations and why are they relevant?
Thank you, Anna. So I'll share a bit of my perspective and everybody, I think, can chip in because we're all working on really similar issues, I think. So yes, for example, when we started to investigate rivers, litter at the river sites, we realized, okay, there's not much information out there actually. So one reason why we monitor litter is because there's missing information, of course. The impacts are really well documented, no, especially in the marine environment. But there are actually some large models now being developed of, for example, how much litter is input into the ocean every year. And all these models, they usually rely on comparatively few data points in the real world, because it's just so much effort to go there and classify all the litter, to make it measurable per square meter, for example, and so on. And then there are a lot of different methods being employed for a lot of different questions also. So yeah, one of the main motivations for our project was to just know how much litter is there out there, especially at the riversides, and what does the litter consist of, basically.
Thank you. Yeah, I guess we all have a similar perspective, but if anyone would like to add something on the importance of the observations of marine litter or environmental litter, because Tim actually, the project Plastic Pirates is more focused on inland waters, but we all know that inland waters also contribute to marine observations.
Yes.
Yeah.
Could I do something?
Yes, please.
Yes, my name is Muhammad Humran. I'm from Yemen, and I'm president the Union of Arab Academic. I'm so happy to be with you to share ocean and sea plastic and environment pollution. I really, in Yemen, we have major obstacle nowadays. It's called sulfur oil tanker. So it is, I think it is international issue that face United Nations, and I don't know if some of you hear about this oil tanker. So how could we work together to find solution in the respect of our workshop? Because I really worried if this tanker get affected or the oil spoil in the Red Sea, and it will make a big problem for the Yemen maritime environment and the Horn African, as well as the country, the Red Sea and the other places.
Thank you. I think you raised a very important point. This is an international issue, and it is one that has no easy solution. And I guess citizen science can bring something positive. So perhaps Rachel, you would like to tell us what you think. What's your concept of citizen science, and why are we using citizen science in observations of marine litter?
Great, thank you. Thank you for having me. It's very cool to be part of this international event, and I appreciate getting to meet part of the Collect team that I've learned about through EDM. Yeah. So we use we use citizen science for both macro and micro debris on shorelines, and we are working on a program called CSI for the Ocean, which is what we're doing here on the Nautilus, which is for microplastic coming out of the sky and found in the surface waters. So for me, the definition of citizen science is data collection that is affordable or accessible by the general population, and is something that is robust enough to be useful. I feel like there is a subtle line between citizen science and what I consider an education program. And I think it's important that citizen science is contributive, so that there are data really going to a bigger picture. And it's not just what I call hold my clipboard science, which is general public holding the equipment of the real scientists, while the real scientists get information that gets processed in a lab or something like that. I think citizen science needs to be inspiring to the people who participate, because it sort of blends to the other part of the question, is we need a lot of data to understand this particular problem. And the only way we're going to get it is if we go outside of the nonprofits and academic organizations who are focused on it and create opportunities for people and communities to be part of the collection of robust contributive data. So for me, that's where it sits, in between the hold my clipboard or sort of education, science for the sake of, or doing the task for the sake of learning how to do them. So for me, that's not it. And but on the other hand, accessible and relatively affordable to be part of it.
Thanks. And how collaborative do you think these activities, so citizen science, how involved should the citizens be also in the make of the project? So creating the project and the goals, etc.
I love this question. You know, I think it's important that whatever it is we as the researchers design is actually something that the people will do, and that they'll do with enthusiasm, and even better, ideally with some level of accuracy. You know, one of the things we're working on is the smallest of the microplastics, not nano quite yet, but the microfibers, using grab samples in that. And we need people to be on board with anti-contamination measures. And so we need to create a program that they not only can, but will participate in. And in order to do that, just like anything, it's the way I'm thinking about it is like market research. If you want someone to buy, or you want the community to buy something or buy into something, I think the community needs to be involved. And so for me, that collaboration is really important. Otherwise, you'll spend months designing a program that gets you the data that you need, but ultimately isn't compatible with the people who need to collect it. So I really like that question, because I think it's so important to include, in this case, you know, we want a global program. So we're trying to include people from a variety of places to try to shoot down the middle and find something that is not just doable, but people want to do it as well.
Great, thanks. Well, since you're there with Adam, would you like to add something on this topic?
Thank you very much, Anna, and thank you so much. So yes, we're really having a good time here. Yeah, I think Rachel said it all. Citizen science needs to be collaborative, but I also think that we need to design the various approaches that we use in citizen science methods with who are the collaborators, okay? Who are we collaborating with? So we need to have them in mind. Okay, if we want to engage students, what can really be easy for students? What can they do? What is the ease with which they can do this with us? If we want to engage adults, we need to have that in mind. What will be like, what is the ease, you know, with which they can collaborate with us? Like she's saying, we want to collect data that is of good quality. So we're not just collecting any data that cannot be compared and all that. And so definitely we need to introduce stuff like the quality check. And what the CSI team is actually doing here is to come up with this, you know, nice way of doing it. So we found out that when you look at microfibers, for example, the least color that you get is orange. And so we said, okay, why don't we put on orange, you know, clothes? And I think this is something that our participants, our collaborators, who are the citizen scientists, would easily, you know, go in for. And by doing so, we get to collect the data quality that we want. So we need to design with our collaborators in mind and make it as creative as we can as possible.
Thank you. Martin, I would like you to pick up on that and let us know, why is it a good idea also to involve citizens? Why did you start your project on Científicos del Laboratório with the citizens? Why using citizens also to observe marine litter specifically?
Yes, thanks for the question and for the invitation to the workshop. First of all, I would like to follow up a little bit on what Rachel and Edem said, and what I really think is very important and what I like very much is the emphasis on the science. There's a lot of citizen science out there that I sometimes call, it's like engagement therapy for citizens, but the science is often forgotten. And also Rachel mentioned something that is a balance that we always do between science, education, outreach. It's all kind of there in the citizen science, but it's very, very important to keep the science in there and put the emphasis on the science. And what Edem said is also very important. Well, you need to know your citizens, and you need to be actually in constant contact with them, so that you know also as a coordinator, for example, of a citizen science program, what their needs are, what their interests are, what they actually can do, and things they can't do. And like more to your question, so we, like about 20 years ago in Chile, we stumbled as scientists across this litter. It was everywhere, on the beaches, on the coast. And when we asked what's known about this, nobody knew anything. And then we looked at it a little bit and we thought, well, all this litter seems to have local sources. And so then we thought, okay, so we need to do something about this. And we actually, our initial interest was do education, environmental education. But then we thought, what is the best way, you know, to get young people, and in our case, school children, engaged in this problem? And we thought, well, you know, the best way really is to do the science together with them. You know, if you do it, if you look, if you go out and you collect the data and you see, whoa, there's a lot of litter here and it's all this kind of litter, then this, just like for us, you know, as scientists, sometimes a light goes on and we say, whoa, you know, we didn't realize that, and now we can respond to this question. The same happens with our citizens, and this is also a process that we very actively in our program, and I think in many other programs, you know, try to promote that they really engage in the science. And then there's another thing in our particular science about this plastic problem, because we need to engage. This is a problem that is a problem generated by all of us, by the entire society, by the companies, as the consumers. And so we need to get everybody on board. And it is very important in that sense to engage our fellow citizens. And what better way to engage them than doing citizen science, because they can see what's going on, and they are also the ones who share the information with, in our case, for example, in the case of the school children, they shared with their family, with their community, and also with the wider community in the country and beyond. And so that's also a very important aspect. They are an active part of this whole process, and I think that's very important. And Rachel hinted at that. They are a very active and important component of this process. We need to listen to them. We need to listen to their interests and basically collaborate like at the same level. Of course, we have a different role as scientists as the school children, but in one way or the other, we are on the same level. We are in this collaboration together, and that's very important. So basically, citizen science for me is something that helps us, all of us, to be active citizens within our society and do something for the good of the whole society.
Great, thank you. I will pick up also on that, and I will ask Filipa, hello, how can we then be very clear when we communicate with the citizens? So how can we communicate technical things, the protocols, the research goals? So there's a method, right, that we as scientists follow, but we need to approach the scientists on this. How can we do that in the best possible way?
Yeah, thanks, Anna, and thank you for the invitation and to be here with all these great experienced people and projects. I'm very happy to contribute. Well, in my experience, and also I totally agree with Martin and Adam that we need to know our target group, because of course we cannot communicate in the same way to children and to adults. And when talking about research goals, and I think that the first step is indeed to define our target group and to know them, well, their interests and how they can collaborate with us in the scientific process. Because for me, and as a scientist, we are not, or we should not expect the contribution only as a data collectors. They can be active in other parts of the scientific process. So we need to ask them how the science works. And when we get this level of confidence with our target group, we then can ask them in which process of the citizen science they can give us our time and their time, which is at the end their precious contribution is the time that people can give us to the scientific process. And in our experience, for instance, here in Portugal, we had citizens that are very very interested in the data visualization. So at the end of the process of the project, so we define different groups and different experiences and different interests, and only after rearranging this puzzle, we talk about our goals and we define which group can be involved in the process. So I think that defining the target group that we want to work with and give them the opportunity to just define which step they are willing to work with us, it's the best option, because we will have people engaged and interested in the entire process. I think that's my experience and my contribution at that time. Yeah.
Thank you. And Annette, also going along with the communication and how to communicate with the citizens, how can we produce simplified protocols? Because it's quite complex. Sometimes we have so many steps, and some of these protocols are very rigorous because we do want to get good data. How can we simplify these protocols to communicate them in the best way with the citizens?
Yeah, sure.
It was Annette, sorry.
It's for me, right?
For Annette, yes.
Okay, all right.
Okay.
I guess to
Thanks,
produce
Filipa.
clear and simplified protocols, there's probably two parts to it. So as researchers, as a scientist, we have to be very clear on our objectives, what we want to achieve, what we want to study. So we have to have very clear methods, clear objectives. Of course, the challenge would then be how to connect this to the citizens, how to connect this to the public. I think the important thing here is that actually getting them to understand why they are doing this, why are they being involved. So actually giving them a big picture and trying to visualize and getting them to understand what their role is in the science, in the research, what is their contribution, and what is the impact that they're going to make from being part of this citizen science program. So I think in a way, after we get the big picture, you can actually put it into step by step. We chunk it up. And I guess there are many ways that we can actually present it to the public. So like everyone is saying, we have to understand our audience, who is on the other side. Is it young children? It could be adults. So the methods that we transfer these steps and objectives to them could be in different ways. So I think having different medium, so it can be written, or we can even have infographics, or even videos. So probably having different type of media to connect with different type of people. Everyone has different ways of learning, different ways of understanding things. So perhaps coming up with different mediums such as this might help. And I think there's another way that we should also try, because after coming up with the steps, coming up with the protocol, getting a non-scientist to actually read it, going through it, is probably something that is very essential. So this somehow helps for me, because I get someone who is a non-scientist. At this point, is my sister. So I'll get her to read my stuff because I can be very technical sometimes. So it's good to bounce off ideas and have discussion with someone who is a non-scientist. Yeah,
that's actually an excellent idea. I might start bombarding my brother also with some of these things. Great. I'm going to actually jump a few steps ahead, because I know, Matteo, you're here, but you might need to leave a bit earlier. So I'm going to ask a few questions already about the data. So we're already looking at the best practices from the almost the endpoint. And Matteo has been working with ModNet chemistry, and so he has some experience on this, the data in terms of quality. What's your opinion in terms of the data collected from the citizens? We've been mentioning that it should have quality, but from the data that you have been looking at, is it quality enough? Is it what we want to get? If not, how can we improve this? And how can we also provide guidelines for better acquisition?
Thanks, Anna. Following my experience and my colleagues' experience in this year collaborating with the technical group on marine litter, because basically we at ModNet Chemistry are trying to provide support to the Marine Strategy Framework Directive, so an official directive of the EU that then need to analyze and elaborate the results of some specific protocols with some specific lists and so on. Our opinion is that the citizen science can provide contribution to this kind of official monitoring. In our opinion, the best way that citizen science can provide contribution to this is when citizen science is not, let's say, completely free or left to the single people, but maybe when there are some NGOs that are in some way helping people to implement some specific protocols that then can be comparable also to the official protocols, so that have a basic layer of quality and reliability on data. I'm not saying that the other kind of the citizen science based on marine litter is not useful. It's useful, as some other is saying, as an education for the people. So even if people are producing data that maybe cannot be used for the official monitoring, I think that there is again a value in the education to know what is present on the beaches and so on. And in my opinion, the best contribution is given in some kind of environments that people are usually living, like the beaches with the macro litter, where it's easier to understand which one is the issue and describe it. Maybe it could be a little more difficult, in my opinion, because I am also seeing the difficulties that the official laboratories are having in terms of microliter in sediment and in floating water, especially in the Eurocuchan project, where they are trying to harmonize the monitoring method for this kind of microplastics. And my thinking is that if already the official professional laboratories have some kind of difficulties to implement these really high level analysis techniques, maybe it's something not so ready for the citizen science. But for the macroliter, for example, in my opinion, especially in beaches and so on, I think that there can be a good contribution.
Thank you. And so in terms of the data, so it's, we want to get data that is fair. So we scientists also have this, should do this bridge between the citizens and opening the data and having the data accessible to everyone. What is this of fair data, and how can we also apply this in the best practices in terms of collaborating with the citizens and producing good quality data?
Thanks for this question. It's really interesting and important for us, because as we are trying to deal at our best with the data management of this kind of data, and fairness of the data is one of the main principles. We are trying with quality, as you are saying, so basically agreeing with the data originator, some layers of quality control on the data before entering in the official database. But also other things are really important that can be even simple, but really fundamental, like a good metadata description, for example. The data are reliable and are readable for people even 10 years after that they are collected. And also, for example, a good set of common vocabularies that are used, so that people know that they are talking about the same thing. They are calling a specific, for example, litter item with the same name. They are talking about the same thing. These are two of the main things. Because from the policy point of view, most of the data that are coming from the official programs, but also from the citizen science, are open and freely available. So this is already a good point. But if they have a good quality control, a good metadata description, and common vocabularies that are applied to describe this data, you ensure that this data can be used now, in 10 years, in 30 years, and so on. And this, I think, is really good if we want to make, for example, trends analysis, understand how this is evolving, and so on.
Yeah, completely agree. But then this brings a new challenge, right? Because, you know, a lot of these projects are low cost, low budget. I mean, how do we sometimes fix this? How can we do everything? Because we want to educate the public, we want to participate, we want to get good quality data, we want to do good data management. Is this a common challenge also with other projects from your point of view, getting good data management in citizen science?
I think that there are some groups trying. We are receiving data from some NGOs, for example, that are doing activities with citizens, like the Mare Nostrum in the Black Sea, and I see that they are making a good work. So I think it is something possible, relying on already existing protocols, for example, and so on.
Thank you very much, Matteo. Thanks also for being here today. Yeah, now I'll go a little bit back and in the procedure, because from the endpoints we'll go still to the recruitment. And team, how can we maintain the interest of the citizens? How can we recruit them and then keep them going? Are citizens tired of cleanups? Do they look at citizen science as cleanups? What do you think?
Well, I, for example, I'm sometimes fed up with like cleaning up other people's litter, right, at the beach. I think that's why it's so important to emphasize that it's not a cleanup we are actually doing, but it's like scientific research, and to follow the method. And it has been done, it has been said before, right? So it's important to, for example, when we go to the beach, people sometimes say, or to the riverside, it's nice you're cleaning up the riverside, and we always know, but we are, for example, not picking up all the litter. We are just doing our transects, putting our circles there, sampling inside the circles, and then when our work is done, actually we don't clean up the entire riverside, right? So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if people are fed up with cleaning up especially because it's not their garbage. No, they are so environmentally aware. They go there in their own free time, and then they find people there or find litter from other people there. So yeah, that's why I think it's important also for the motivation to always emphasize that they are doing a scientific investigations, that by doing that, they become the local experts of litter pollution at their site. Nobody will know more than them as scientific experts. And also to engage them in other scientific processes, for example, like to allow them to analyze their own data, to compare them with other groups sampling close by, for example, to have them have access on a website where they see their data, and to also give them back the final results in the end when we as project coordinators are done with the data, for example. And this actually has been in our project, the Plastic Pirates, quite a challenge, because the scientific research and also analyzing the microplastics, it takes so long, right? And in our case, the school children, they move from class to class within a year, and then sometimes they want a result within like 1 week, and then we have to say, sorry, we just cannot do it. And I think that's one of the main challenges for us to like, yeah, to like get in contact sooner, or to transmit some results sooner. But for the time being, we have kind of tried to solve this at least partially by updating people about what we are doing in the lab, what we are currently working on some methods in the social media, on Facebook, for example. So they don't have their final results, but they at least know what we are doing and that we are working on something. And I think in that regard also, like we, for example, get in contact a lot with the teachers for data quality questions. For example, we don't know precisely where they have been at the riverside, or they forgot to send us some photos. We used to verify the data findings. And I think this is actually really time consuming for us, but it's valuable for the teachers as well, because they know there's someone really asking for individual photos, or asking me to resize the photos because we cannot recognize the litter items. So they realize there's somebody really there interested in the data, and that the data is being used. And I think that's, yeah, it all comes back to the scientific part for the motivation, I think, in my opinion.
Yep. Thanks. Yeah, I think it's sometimes very challenging to update everyone on time. Doing all the data analysis is really challenging. And yeah, it's something that we need to keep working. Those are good tips. Martin, another question for you. A few weeks ago, you in the conference, you said something about what citizen science should not be. So what are citizens not responsible, and what should they not be replacing, in your opinion? And how can we protect also the projects from over expectations? So sometimes we have so much, expectations are so high in terms of what citizens can also do. How can we protect them from that?
Yeah, okay. So first of all, I would like to say this is very interesting, because basically everything what has been said, I can say, you know, what Matteo said, I would subscribe immediately every word that you said. So this is important, and what Tim said anyways. And what everybody else said also, you know, so this is good in a way. I feel really good about that, but we are only 20 people here. So hopefully we can spread all this information to more people. And there's actually one little criticism that I would like to offer. To me, it was quite challenging to go through this website to get here. And actually yesterday I asked you, Anna, can we share this link? And quite frankly, I did not do it because, for example, all our teachers and volunteers, I felt I did not want to get them go through this login. I forgot even how this website is to then join this session. So that was very complicated and for me, and I felt our volunteers, I didn't want to do it. But okay, back to the question. So instead of saying what citizens cannot do, maybe very briefly, our governments, they have a lot of commitments with this plastic, and they will have to enter more commitments in the coming years with the plastic treaty. So our governments have will have to assume very important responsibilities, and there is tendencies in some countries to say, oh yeah, we can do that with citizen science. No, citizen science cannot replace the tasks that governments assume and that scientists, professional scientists have to do. Our governments will have to hire professional scientists, for example, to do all the microplastic analysis that has to be done, because that cannot, just like what Matteo said, cannot really be done by citizen scientists in most cases. It's very hard. Maybe somebody can do it, but in most cases, it's our reality. For example, in most countries in Latin America, it's very hard to get citizens engaged because we need all this equipment, all that money. Macro, maybe a little bit. We do already repeated measurements because we are also interested in seeing how things change or hopefully change. And what Tim said, it's very important to engage our citizens in all this process and also engage our citizens in the excitement of science. We are doing this science because it's also fun to try to respond to these questions. And here, maybe a little anecdote, because I heard from several of you plastic pirates. Why do we have plastic pirates today? Many years ago, we started in Chile doing a citizen science project where we looked at macro litter on the beaches. And we got from many teachers from all the country. We are talking 5,000 kilometers of coastline along the Chilean coast participated. But we also got a lot of questions from teachers who were inland, who said, oh, we can't participate, but we have a lake or we have a river. And at the time I said, nah, but we are on the beaches, on the marine beaches, it's marine litter. But we listened to those teachers. That's the important thing. We listened to them and said, we want to do something also for those teachers. And so in one of our next years, we thought, let's go to the rivers. That was in 2012. Nobody really had looked at litter in the rivers. And so we did in 2013, after a lot of trial, where we went out with some schools, tried different methods, we did the first national sampling of litter in the rivers in Chile. And out of that came actually later the plastic pirates. Is basically some of the protocols that the plastic pirates are doing is the same protocol that we applied in 2013. But why am I telling you that? The reason is not that we were the first ones. The reason is try to go where nobody has been before. This is a great opportunity for citizen science. Look at questions, and there is many questions, many issues out there where citizen science can go and do some innovative stuff, where the professional scientists have not been. I see that Matteo is raising his hand. I'm really looking forward to your comment. But I wanted to say, you mentioned we are living on the beaches. This is one thing where I contradict, where I'm a little bit in contradiction. We are not living on beaches. We are living in cities. And nobody is looking in cities. So for me, citizen science, this is a great opportunity for citizen science. And it's also a great opportunity because we just need to open our door and step outside in our streets. This is where the action is. This is where we are producing this litter. This is litter in the streets and washing with every rainstorm into the rivers, into the ocean. There's a great opportunity for citizen science. And so what I'm trying to say, go where others cannot go, do innovative things, make it fun, make it exciting, because also those young people and sometimes older people, they are the ones who spread the word, and they're going to be the ones who are going to be the future scientists. So great opportunities where citizen science really can do something.
Thanks.
Sorry,
I think,
I can
yeah, Matteo, go ahead.
Then I will leave. Really, thanks for your comments, really interesting. And I would like to reinforce what you are saying, that, for example, if you don't have in your country, nation, up to now, an official program of monitoring, I think that the citizen science efforts are even more important, because you can show up what is necessary, you can show hotspots and so on, and places where you need to have official programs. So in my opinion, in this way, they can be really helpful.
Thanks,
Thanks.
Matteo.
Yes, I agree, and we do it, but we have to pass the ball at some point to the government, and that's important. Yes, we can do some monitoring, but then the government at some point has to take over.
Thanks. Martin, I will also pass your comment on the difficulties of the access to the technical platform. I don't know if Pauline is still here, but I will pass the comment to the organizers of the OBPS workshop. Thank you for that. I think there are some comments in the chat. I've seen that Jennifer, are you there? Has been commenting quite a lot as well on these questions. Would you like to contribute from your experience?
Sure. Can you hear me okay?
Sorry to catch you. Just
No, that's all right. That's all right.
Yeah.
First of all, Martin, I love your enthusiasm, and I 100% agree with everything you just said. It's tricky when it comes to microplastic monitoring, that it does require a lot of scientific equipment and analysis that only professionals have access to or education to conduct. And there might be some other avenues that can help with that. And I see that Rachel has her hand raised, and yes, Rachel, I see your email and I will email you. I'm excited to learn more about this whole community and how people are engaging in a lot of these things, because here in the United States and NOAA, we are just now putting together this database to kind of to track all of this stuff and monitor this stuff and keep it archived and organized in some way. As Matteo had indicated, like being able to do it in an organized fashion and have some sort of best practices and some sort of like understanding of methods and how we track and collect this data and then how we report out on it is really essential to being able to combine all of this citizen science data into one big pile of data that we scientists can analyze. And I am really happy I joined this conversation. I'm learning a whole lot here. So I'll stop talking now. Go ahead.
Thank you. Adam, Rachel, would you like to contribute? Yes.
Great. Yeah, thank you, Jennifer, and everyone. I agree. This is a great conversation. So what we're doing with CSI for the Ocean is addressing that exact problem that you wrote about in the comments, just that microplastic science there's been a lot of obstacles to making it more than the hold my clipboard version, or like, here's a jar of water, but that's all that the people can do. And the way we've done it is by partnering with a team, Dr. Claire Gwinnett from Stafford University. She's a forensic fiber scientist and bringing methods from crime scene investigation. And when you think about it, the people doing crime scene investigation, there's a lot of them. It can't be wildly expensive. There's a lot of people to train, all these detectives everywhere, all over. And they need to know where, for this particular part, it's fibers, come from for life or death reasons. And the methods that have been developed in that discipline are applicable to our ocean work. And so that's what we're doing on this, on this program. I'm laughing because I see Martin's question here on the boat. Can you show us the ocean? It is just rounding on 6 o'clock. The sun isn't quite out yet, but soon. Adam can pick up the camera and show you the ocean. It's turquoise and so stunning. But I hope you'll keep an eye out for the CSI for the Ocean. We're in our kind of phase 3 testing, but if any of you are specifically interested, I put my email in the chat, and our emails are in that list. And we have kits that we'll be sending to a group of people to help with the data collection. And just a hint of all this is we're using polarizing light microscopes instead of FTR and Raman spectroscopy. And the polarizing light microscopes can get IDs on a vast majority of fibers. And we know that when we're looking at this grab sample level, the majority of what people find in most places are fibers. So this is kind of getting pretty far down the line. Of course, nothing's perfect with all this, but we're working on something robust. Thank you. Thank you all for this conversation.
Thanks. Yeah, I actually said that it was midnight in Hawaii. I know it's early morning. It was 5 a.m. actually. So they got up really early. Yes. Yeah, brave. Filipa, since we have you here still, and it's not 5 a.m. in Portugal, what is the reception? We've been talking a little bit about this, but what's the reception of the scientific community about citizen science? I mean, some people still have some prejudice. What is the general reception? Do you think it's improving the way we, at least in the marine litter type of research, are we improving the way we look into this type of data?
Yeah, well, this is a nice question, because here in Portugal, we are still struggling with the concept of citizen science. And I can tell you that most of my team colleagues in this university still think that citizen science is just having fun, and just it is, but not only, but it's just outreach activities. And we still need to work on that. We still need, and we are now planning to do internal workshops for scientists about citizen science. And for these, they do not recognize the value of citizen science. And they think that citizen science, it's just, well, as I said, just outreach activities and dissemination and outreach and awareness projects. So we are now preparing an internal workshops here in our country. That's why we also face a lot of financial support here. Citizen science is not even mentioned in any calls and in any financial support, national one, I mean. So we are really in the beginning of the process of having citizen science programs, and we are, well, with our small citizen science initiative on marine litter, we are trying to to explore and to be an example on how these could be applied even for other environmental science, and not only for the marine pollution problem. So I think that we have different velocities and different scales of citizen science, and we are now struggling with that, the internal, and how to communicate to scientists the value of citizen science. I think that is also something that we could internationally collaborate and work on that, because in some countries, well, there are a lot of motivation and financial support that can help us, another country like us, to elevate the value of citizen science.
Yeah, I think that's a big challenge, because some countries have also like a longer tradition of having the public involved in charities or in other type of activities. And I guess coming also from Portugal, I have the impression that, yeah, sometimes citizen science is not looked in the way it should. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I feel, yeah, Tim, go ahead.
Maybe just to add something about the data quality aspect and how citizen science data is viewed by the scientific community. So when basically Martin and I submitted the first plastic pirates paper, there were a lot of questions during peer review about the methods, about how we verified the data and so on. And we added like substantial text to the method section, to the research section, and to the discussion section to detail all that stuff. And that is all good and fine. I think we have to be critical, but what I would wish is that we apply the same standard basically to more traditional scientific investigations, right? So we all should like detail our errors so we can learn from each other and transparently list which data we excluded and for what reason. Yeah, that was what I want to say basically.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah. Martin, you want to add something to this?
Yes, I subscribe exactly the same what Tim said, and I would like to share a little bit in confidential anecdote with you. In the chat, I put the link to our current project, and that project is very interesting because we have volunteers, our school teachers with their kids, park rangers, people from NGOs, people from all walks of life. But we also have scientific colleagues who from our scientific network. And so far we have already received a bunch of data. And what our coordination team is telling me, the citizen scientists, they all did perfectly. But some of our scientific colleagues actually, for example, they sent pictures which is in great detail describe what the pictures need to have. Pictures without a label, or pictures, you know, we want to measure the types of the sizes of the litter and the organisms on the litter. And so it is very important to put a ruler in the picture. And some of our scientific colleagues forgot to put the ruler in the picture. So I completely agree with what Tim said. We need to be critical about what our citizen scientists are doing. We need to validate the data, but the fact that somebody has a PhD behind their name or DR in front of their name does not mean immediately that they are infallible. And we need to apply the same standards to everybody. I fully agree with Tim on that.
Yes, thank you. This is confidential, but I mean, it's being recorded. And so
yeah, but I didn't mention any names. So
yeah, I know, I'm joking.
And of course, I wouldn't do that.
But thanks. It's actually a very valuable remark, and I think once in a while we all as experts also need to be reminded that it's not just doing things because we want to, but we also need to apply always the same standards that we criticize or we judge the others to our own work. Yeah, that's very valuable. Annette, yes, it's midnight there. Is it already tomorrow? It's already
Yes.
tomorrow. Yeah. So one of the very last questions, we are starting to wrap up from this very interesting discussion. From your personal point of view, what have been the major benefits of working in citizen science projects, and what have been your major challenges?
I think the benefits would be, well, we have more hands to help to collect the data. And we do have a wider reach. We can get on a bigger scale. I guess it's also great because we get to create more awareness. So I think working with the students closely, right, when we are collecting our data, it's quite interesting for myself to actually see how they respond. After we are done collecting data, collecting the data, you can see some of them are actually truly impacted. They get a shock seeing like, oh, there's just so many cigarette butts or so much candy wrappers. So by doing this, we are actually creating a lot of awareness. And the other part of it, I think the challenge would be how to motivate some of them, because sometimes they're just going through the motions, doing what we have taught them to do, but it doesn't really translate why they are doing this. What's the impact? So I think the other part of it would be, besides collecting data, we have to look beyond those who are involved in citizen science projects. I personally hope there will be some kind of lifestyle impact. So after seeing things, what's out there, hopefully that they can change some of their lifestyle, including myself too. Looking at certain things that we have collected, I'm like, okay, I have to rethink my lifestyle choices as well when it comes to single-use plastics and things like that. Yeah, so I guess keeping people motivated sometimes can be a bit challenging. Yeah, that's it for me. Thank you.
Thanks. Thanks, everyone. Yeah, I think that was from our side the last question, but I don't know if anyone would like to ask a question to one of the panelists.
Anna, can
Sophie?
I?
Yes.
Yeah. Thanks to all the panelists for this great discussion. I just wanted to come back to Martin and I think Tim's, was it Tim, Matteo? The point about the data quality control and comparing the quality of data from citizen scientists and from scientists. And I was wondering if there have been any studies or sort of intercalibration type of exercises where scientists and citizens have been sampling on the same beach, and then you know, so some kind of comparison of the data collected by the two types of people. I guess it's kind of what Martin was referring to, but I was just wondering if there's been some more official comparative study of that from anyone.
Yeah.
Martin, go ahead.
Yeah, to my knowledge, Sophie, what most is being done is something that Tim explained, that citizens, volunteers take a sample and, for example, take a photograph, and then somewhere some professional scientist recounts the photograph and compares with their data. Or something that is also sometimes done is, for example, small plastics. I don't want to call them microplastics. Let's call them small plastic particles. Citizen scientists sieve it, for example, in the sand. They count the microplastics and send the number, and then in the lab, the professional scientists recount it. And so we compare directly, but of the same sample. You know, it's just like the professionals control, so to speak, the citizen scientists. Now, to my knowledge, and this is also why I'm very excited about this project that we are developing right now, this Ocean Travelers project. This is, to my knowledge, the first time. There is probably some projects out there which I'm not aware of. But here the interesting thing is we have very simple sampling protocols which are done by volunteers, including school children, and by professional scientists, in some cases experts on marine litter or marine ecology, in the same way. We do the same training for both groups. We send them the same instructions. We receive the same kind of data format. And that actually was not our original. This is also something that sometimes happens with these projects. It was not our original intention to contrast these two groups. Our intention was actually to spread the sampling as much as possible and to get as much information from as many beaches as possible. So in some cases, we have many volunteers in other areas of the world. It's very hard for volunteers to go, but we know some of our scientific colleagues go there. So we ask them. That was our original intention. But now actually we see this, and I'm quite committed that one of the products that we will do is to compare how did our volunteers do and how did the professional scientists do. And so far, very informal, the volunteers actually seem to be doing a little bit better than our professional scientists. So what you are suggesting, I think, is really, really good, and we should do that probably more often. Have volunteers and so-called professional scientists apply the same protocol. I think that would be really, really helpful. And especially when it becomes complicated, like when we go into the microplastic world, where things are really more difficult.
Yeah, I think that's the best way to convince the scientific community that this is proper science. I think, you know, for the workshops and things that Filippo was talking about, presenting them with some kind of hard evidence that, you know, studies have been done and the quality was similar, if not better, from the volunteers, that would be really convincing.
Yes, and sorry, in these correlational studies that I mentioned, where it's the same samples, in general, the tendency, and I don't know whether Tim could say something about that, in general, the tendency is that volunteers are doing quite good work. And sometimes if we discover that they don't do so well, it's also very good for us to ask ourselves, what did we do bad, right? Because in some cases, it's not them, it's us. It's us because we did design things too complicated, or we had too many complicated steps in there, and they couldn't do it, or it was, you know. So this is also this quality control is also a very good reflection for us to reflect on our sampling protocols and all these issues. So, but in general, you know, and also from what I've seen from other studies, the citizen scientists are doing really quite well.
Thanks. Tim, I don't know if you will have something to add, but I would also like to invite Adam if you have something to add after, because Adam also explored in the project that we're involved, to explore the protocol first, together with the technical stuff, and then went to the field with the students. So maybe Adam, if you can also give your opinion after Tim about this topic. Tim, you have something to add?
Yeah, actually, as an example that Martin just mentioned, it happened once during the first Plastic Pirates campaign that we invented a quite complex protocol and got data back, and we couldn't use it in the end because, yeah, it was, looking back at it, it was quite complex. And the school teacher here working with us on the project, yeah, she was always saying, let's keep it simple, and somehow probably I, or maybe you, Martin, convinced her that we should collect this and that information. Well, I take the blame here now, so it was me maybe. And then we asked too much of the citizen scientists, and the data got unusable, and then we had to simplify the project. So yeah, citizen science project also, I mean, it's a lot of work for the project coordinators as well, no? Developing all the educational materials, then you print them, and then 3 months later you realize, oh, I have to rewrite a section of that and print all of it again. So yeah, it's a constant adaptation of the methods, I would say.
Yeah, thanks. Adam, would you also like to add something to the discussion? I think you're muted still.
Okay, yes, Anna, yes, this is very, very important. How simple are the methods? And I think that what we did in the case of Collect was that this was one of the issues that we're trying to address right from the start of the project. And so we put in a lot of effort into making sure that whatever protocol we are coming out with is something that can easily be used by the students. So right from the description of the method, we came out with this cool way of visualizing things. So you don't really have to read a lot, but you just look at pictures. So we use the pictures to do the description of the methods. And when we went on the field, it was quite easy for the students to actually follow us or get a grasp of the method. And so this is where it's one of the places that we need to invest a lot of time when we are planning citizen science projects. How can we make the method really easy and simple for people to use? And I totally agree with what Tim and Martin said as well. We need to think through, dedicate a lot of effort to making sure that we are coming out with methods that can be easily understood and used by our citizen scientists.
Thanks. All right. I don't have any more questions on my list, and we are approaching also the time. And I don't know if Sophie and Lika or anyone else would have any other question or comment that they would like to make.
Just to complement Edem's explanation on the protocols for collect, one thing that contributed to facilitating the protocol is that our project involved school students from countries that spoke different languages. So one of the strategy was to make it easy, mostly on figures more than words, because it could be easily adapted to all countries as well. So, and we counted with the contribution of a Portuguese company, to make the figures pretty, because we are scientists, we're not very good at it. So, yeah. Just want to say that in the chat, Mohammed says he would like to add something.
Okay, and I think Mohammed and Jay,
yes,
right? Would you, Mohammed?
Yes,
go ahead.
Yes, citizen science education is very well, but when we compare between who will affect more in the ocean, we find that company also do more pollution and plastic. So how can we, put this in the program? Because who does the more affection in the ocean? The ships and company, but the citizen is less affection than I think. This is my suggestion. The company and the ship. So when we need to choose our target for the citizen science, we need to solve the coast and the ocean. So the citizen is not a big challenge. Yes, they can affect the environment, the coast environment, but more affection comes from company, ships, testing project like nuclear power. So I wish to put this in the schedule, and we can figure out how can we send our message to this organization or the country that can affect our maritime environment. Thank you.
I think you touch in an important issue, because of course the citizens, we can involve them, but then there's other players, other stakeholders that are important in contributing to the level of pollution that is out there, and it's difficult to reach to them and to give them the responsibility that that they should have in resolving this issue. I completely agree. Yeah. Yes. Oh, yes. Yes. And perhaps the citizens can also play a role on that and push it bottom up and really by bringing awareness. This is part of the solution to the problem, not the solution, but I think it's part of the solution. But like Martin said, it's not only also the responsibility of the citizens to replace governmental issues. So the law is also quite important, like you're mentioning. I think that's very important. It's an important remark. Thank you. Anyone else would like to contribute and to have a question? Jay, yes, you had a question. Please go ahead.
Yeah, I don't know whether it's a question or a comment, but listening to Martin and Tim and others, it's sometimes hard to write documents, but the Ocean Best Practice System has learned that short videos can be very important. You can do them informally. You can talk about your procedures or the challenges, and then we will take them in as equivalent of documents and actually have them available on YouTube. So I'm wondering if I could reach out to the community here and say, can we create a series of short videos on protocols and even the comparisons that we've been talking about here as a library?
Anyone would like to answer and to contribute?
I was just going to write it because I've been talking so much, but many videos already exist, Jay, and we would be happy to share some of those videos. So
yeah, we also have some from our project. All right.
Yeah. Can we get a picture?
Yes, I was going to say that before we all go and before we all close our cameras and some of us go to sleep, some of us start our working day. Let's take a picture. Jay, will you do that or should I do that?
Both of us.
Okay.
Please do it.
Okay, everyone is ready? Do we smile? Do we say yay? Okay, 1, 2, 3. Here's one. I'm gonna take another one and there's more people. Yay. Thank you. I think for the picture, Jay, did you take one?
Yeah. Yeah.
Perfect.
We're fine.
Thank you so much. Sophie, Lika, would you also like to add something? Adam?
No, I just think, it was raised at some point before that it's important to have NGOs involved and to have professionals kind of on the ground helping the citizens. And I think that's something that we've managed to do with the Collect project, where we've kind of had a partnership between POGO member institutions, which are research institutes, and they were kind of paired with a school in their country. So there were, scientists on the ground taking the school children to the beaches and helping them with the sampling. So I think that kind of approach should be implemented, whether it's through NGOs or through other projects. So yeah, I just wanted to kind of highlight the importance of that aspect of not just letting citizens loose with protocols, a video, and and a bucket and spade. George has his hand up.
I just wanted to add the comments that I'm hearing. It's just amazing. It's humbling and honor to everybody here today, especially several of the comments from Sophie and Martin's passion. If we had 1,000 Martins out there engaging teachers everywhere, we'd really make dents. But I guess I put some comments there in the chat, but we need to take pride in what we're doing, and we need to honor these volunteers. This is really important. It is not picking up trash. We are not that. We are helping future generations have some kind of future. So claim the importance of what you're doing. Honor your volunteers. And honor to everybody that made this happen.
Thank you. I think that's actually quite valuable remark, because sometimes, all these projects and then there's a publication, but we need to thank the volunteers because they do give their time, like Philippa mentioned before, and time is precious. So it's quite important to honor that. Yes, thank you. And I also thank you so much, everyone. I mean, thanks for being here. I know we're not many, but Martin, to be honest, a few people told me that they're going to check the recording, and you can please share the recording if you want with all the volunteers and teachers and colleagues. So feel free to do it. It's freely available after the session. Thanks, everyone. Lika, you didn't talk much. Do you want to add something?
No, I'm humble learner here.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, To my colleagues that also helped preparing the session, thanks for everyone who volunteered also to be here. Some of you at difficult times, difficult time in terms of clock, not because it's anything. Okay. And yes, I also will say goodbye to you. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks.
Thank you,
Bye
everybody.
bye.
See you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.